This weekend of the Repco Bathurst 1000, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Repco, and of course an amazing history in motorsport. And there's no better place than here at the National Motor Racing Museum to put some of that history on display for the fans over the course of the 4 days of the great race, the Supercars Classic, the Repco Bathurst 1000. I thought I should take you for a bit of a wander to see what's on display here and what you can see here, because there's some amazing machines and they're led by this car. The car behind me is the Brabham BT19. Of course, this is the great Sir Jack Brabham's Formula One car from 1966 with the Aussie built and developed Repco engine. That will never ever happen again in the history of Formula One. Of course, Jack won the World Championship in 1966. The Kiwi Denny Hulme, his teammate, won in 1967. Come for a wander here. I want to show you what's around here because there's amazing history on the walls here from Repco Brabham engines, Frank Matic, Repco Sportscast. There's just so much to see. Got to have a look at this car. This is literally a priceless car, the BT19. Don't ask me what it's worth because no amount of money will be able to get you this car. It is an absolutely beautiful piece of Australian and UK engineering that's been put together over the course of history. It looks the part, it looks sensational. There's also another really interesting open wheeler here too. This is the Matic chassis that John Goss won the Australian Grand Prix in 1976 with Repco power in the back of the car, and that means that Gossie's the only driver to win the Australian Grand Prix and the Bathurst 1000 as well, and he did the Grand Prix win in 76 at Sandown in Melbourne in this very car. It's in the livery, the number 2 Citizen, orange wheels, number 2 blue, looks fantastic. This car's a runner, it still goes and it still competes. Speaking of blue cars with Repco heritage and history though, the Matic SR4. This is the sports car that was built here in Australia, driven by the great Frank Matic, won the Australian Sports Car Championship. It's got the Repco Brabham V8 engine in the back of it. It is a cool car. I mean, this car's over 50 years old, but it still looks modern. It still looks like it can go. It still looks like it could absolutely kick some backside on the racetrack. It's an amazing piece, and Frank Matic is a huge part of the history of Repco in Australian motorsport. Now with Repco, you also think sometimes of other types of cars, other types of drivers. The Holden dealer team sports sedan that raced in the 1970s. Peter Brock drove this briefly, Colin Bond, Ron Harrop. It has Repco Holden V8 power underneath it. It's a beautiful, amazing car. Next to it in the lineup here in the display, this is special. This might look like it's just finished a round Australia trial because it does and it has and it is. This is the very VB Commodore that Peter Brock, Matt Phillip and Noel Richards took around Australia in 1979 to win the Round Australia trial that was backed by Repco. So before Commodore even won here at Bathurst, they won around Australia in 79. This is the VB Commodore. Have a look at it. I mean, it's still, it's not looking in pristine museum condition, but this is how it finished. That one event in 1979, the Commodore's finishing 1, 2, 3. What a debut for that nameplate. And of course, it's pretty appropriate that we talk about that, given that this weekend's the last run for Holden in supercars in the Bathurst 1000 at the Mountain. Speaking of Bathurst winning cars though, the Valvoline Gary Rogers Motorsport Commodore, backed by Repco, long-time partners of GRM in Melbourne. This is the car, the VT Commodore, that Garth Tander and Jason Bargwanna took to victory in that wet race back 22 years ago. It never raced again. It raced in that race, November 2000, and was never used again by Gary Rogers Motorsport for racing activity. So it's a pretty cool piece of Bathurst history. And alongside it's a car that you might be thinking, hang on a minute, that's not a supercar. Well, it's not. It's a stock car, NASCAR. Kim Jane's Chevrolet Monte Carlo won the last 4 Australian NASCAR titles between 1997 and 2000. It's been restored recently to the livery that it raced at Albert Park at the Formula One Grand Prix in 2000, which was the final NASCAR event in Australia before Bob Jane pulled the pin. Of course, Kim Jane, his nephew, drove that car to 4 straight titles. It was an ex-Max Stumsney car before that. Loud, meaty American thunder. This very car raced at Bathurst in 1998, finished runner-up in the NASCAR 100 with Kim driving. Russell Ingall won that race, but it's a very cool part of Repco history. Plenty to see and do over the course of the Repco Bathurst 1000, not just here at the National Motor Racing Museum, the Repco Trackside Store, the Repco Garage. There is plenty of stuff over the course of the weekend to keep you busy here at Mount Panorama. Of course, if you can't be here, you can follow it all on Repco socials, and don't forget the website too, garage.repco.com.au.